Welcome to the Open to Hope Show in partnership with the Compassionate Friends. I'm your host, Dr. Heidi Horsley, with my co-host and mom, Dr. Gloria Horsley. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Heidi. It's great to be on the show today with you.
We're going to be talking today about men in grief, and our guest today is Barry Kruger. Barry's only child, Erica, died in a car accident. Barry is a veteran public relations executive and writes for the Huffington Post and 165 CityBrand Media sites. He and fellow grieving dad Kelly Farley began an effort to add loss of a child to the Family Medical Leave Act, which led to the Sarah Grace-Farley-Kluger Act, currently being considered in Congress. Welcome to the show, Barry.
Well, nice to be with you. People grieve in many different ways, and men certainly grieve differently from women. I was speaking with one person who really described it as grieving masculine or feminine, and it really doesn't apply to any one particular gender.
You know, I was reading a little bit from your book. It's called A Life Undone, A Father's Journey Through Loss Continues. You had some great thoughts in there, Barry, but one of the things that I thought I was looking at that book, I thought a little bit about my son's death, Heidi's brother, because he died suddenly like your daughter Erica did in an automobile accident. It was a sudden death, and that, as a lot of our listeners know, is really unbelievably traumatic to, have that sudden death.
As I said in my book, Erica died from one of those, what I called a garden variety type of death, not to mean any disrespect to anyone who has lost a child through an automobile accident. But to me, all I had to deal with was the craziness of this freak car accident. She was not a victim of a crime, so I didn't have that anger. She was not hit by a driver who may have been intoxicated, so I didn't have to deal with that. She wasn't ill and didn't waste away over a period of time, so I didn't have to deal with that. I just had to deal with the suddenness and the absurdity of it.
Well, Barry, and I love that you're saying the absurdity of it. I've never heard anyone say that, but it is. It's absurd. It's absurd that, here these two teenagers are, my brother and Erica, who just get in the car and they suddenly are dead. It just doesn't even seem real. It does. It seems absurd that it could even happen, but yet it does.
How is it to go right back to work?
Well, it's interesting. I have my own advertising and PR agency, so I didn't have to ask for permission. I was really granting myself permission to either take time off or deal with the pain. Quite honestly, I used the opportunity right after Erica's death to make sure her mom was healing, or at least dealing with it, with my wife. Erica was my daughter from my first marriage. My parents, Erica's friends. So I really didn't focus on myself. I focused on everybody else, which caused problems several months down the road because I had kind of put it in a lockbox, put it away, and said, I'll deal with it later. So I did go back to work, but I was in a haze. There are things I don't remember doing, things I don't remember saying. So when Kelly Farley and I decided to do this bill, we had found examples of parents who had lost children, were forced to come back to work after 3 to 5 days, and for them it was difficult. They couldn't concentrate, productivity went down, morale went down, and it was a total mess. So I was pretty lucky compared to many of the people we're trying to help in this legislation.
So Barry, talk to me a little bit more and talk to us about your legislation. It's the Sarah Grace-Farley-Kluger Act. Is that what it's called?
Yes, it is. And this is the third time it's in Congress. This is the third session. We first introduced the Farley-Kluger Initiative in January 2011. And it was that time that I met Kelly Farley, who had lost 2 children. We met on the Internet. We Googled stories about parents who've lost children. We found each other. And then we started to find this information of parents who were granted 3 to 5 days leave with a policy known as the Federal Family Medical Leave Act, which really gives people up to 12 weeks unpaid to have a child, adopt a child, or care for a sick family member, but only 3 to 5 days to bury that child. Just didn't make sense to us. So we started to reach out to parents across the country through various petitions to Congress, and over a period of years, we started to get some traction, and the bill introduced last year, 2015, is for last year and 2016. We're hoping to get hearings. We've got bipartisan support. The momentum is great. And basically what we're asking is if someone loses a child, put their conditions the same as others. Give them up to 12 weeks unpaid. Some may not want it. Some may not need it. Just give them the opportunity to begin to deal with their loss, and everybody wins. It's just smart business. There are people who say, you know what, we have enough government regulation. And my answer to them is, well, if the bill wasn't around, we wouldn't have anything to compare our request to. But the Family Medical Leave Act was introduced in 1993, and since it was there, we just feel not including death of a child was an oversight, and that's what we're trying to correct.
What kind of rituals do you have to remember, Erica?
Oh, it's interesting. When I load the dishwasher, Erica's job was always to unload the dishwasher. And when I load it, I just take a moment and think, and I put a special spoon that Erica had that she had gotten from her younger sister, and I still have it, along with Erica's old perfumes and sweaters and soaps and scents that remind me of her. And every time I do the wash, I put her spoon in the basket, and when I'm done, I take it out and I put it back in the drawer. And it's something that I've done pretty regularly. I also talk to her a lot. It's interesting. I have kept a journal since I was 14. I would take my thoughts and I'd write them down to make sure I don't forget them, but also I've been a journalist all my life. So this was a way to keep history in perspective and to remember the things that happened and really to put down my emotions at the time. So after Erica died, and I wrote about some of the issues before she died, being a teenager, being younger. When I finally wrote after she had passed, I wrote about the day of the funeral. I wrote the days of 7 days of the Jewish ritual of sitting Shiva after she died. I wrote about the visit to my parents just a few weeks after Erica had passed away. So these things were all there, and those are many things that I pulled from for the book.
I know one of the things you say in your book that I thought was really interesting is that Jews call death the crisis of life. I thought that was really interesting.
Yes, the word is what they call life cycle. But I don't think it's anything new. John Lennon really said life is what happens when you miss the plans. And that I don't want to be so glib to say death is a part of life, but these are life cycles that we hope, some life cycles we hope we never have to go through, but they are life cycles just the same. There's not a day that goes by that I don't wish Erica was here, but it's one of those things. These things happen, and what it did for me was prepare me for the inevitable. Not to walk around each day worrying who's going to pass next, or with this black cloud hanging over my head as I walk around the streets or through my daily life. For me, it's anything can happen, but then again, anything grand can happen, and that's something that I've tried to do myself, make great things happen.
I like this, Barry, because not only did you lose your child, you lost your only child. And it sounds like you've chosen to, okay, you know what, this happened to me, and it's horrific, but I want to spend my life making great things happen and still living my life fully. Is that fair to say?
It's fair. Yes, it's very fair to say. I've always been a glass half full kind of guy. And I go back and forth on this where I say, well, I lost Erica. I really didn't have a choice. And some people say, yes, you did have a choice. Well, I certainly didn't have a choice in her accident, in her death. But I had a choice as to what I would do with this grief and pain, whether I would never make any sense of it, but maybe I could make some use of it. And that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to take this tragedy, and I've tried to, as they say, make lemonade out of lemons.
And as my mom and I always say, if you've lost hope, lean on ours. Thank you, Barry.
Thanks. And God bless.
You've been listening to Open to Hope Radio, hosted by Drs. Gloria and Heidi Horsley. Like today's edition, all of our past programs are available on demand at opentohope.com, along with helpful articles, videos, resources, and links to help get you through the toughest time of your life. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter and sign up for our monthly newsletter. Again, that's opentohope.com. Check it out today. Then be sure to stop by next Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time when we'll be posting another edition of Open to Hope Radio. Remember, others have been where you are. They made it through, and you can too, as long as you're open to hope.